Welcome to the Brewtiful Game, as always, but for the first time from my almost set up Tennessee studio, it's Blake here with Ferris.
Hola from my home desk setup.
Yeah, you look way comfier than I do. I have crammed such all of my equipment into this itty bitty desk that is like not meant for all this stuff because my desk has not arrived yet. But I have my new home in the, I will tell you, Ferris, it was in the 70s this morning. It was fantastic. It's so nice and cool now.
Fantastic. It's still blazing hot here with a crap ton of rain in the past week or so.
Oh man, when I came in to hang out with you and Ron and go see that Arsenal and Chelsea match, I was like, wow, I've only been up in Tennessee for a few months, but already this is real hot. This is real hot.
You know, for you know, people think I'm nuts because I say, you know, I love the heat, I love the sweat, I love the humidity of it all. But that's because I've lived here my entire life. You know, if I lived for somewhere else for any more than a matter of like 2 weeks, I'd probably be coming back and going, oh my God, it's so hot. It's so terrible.
Well, I was like this weekend planting trees with my little one, and she goes, it's hot. I was like, no, it is not. You have not been out of Florida that long to think it's hot right now. It is not hot. You need to relax. You may have noticed we do not have Ron with us. I was minus the last episode because of this move. And we are minus Ron this episode, where if you're following our socials, you'll know that jerk has been in Europe. In fact, he is at
what an a-hole.
For real Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
Right now. What a jerk. The pictures look amazing. Man, I'm so jealous.
Looks like so much fun, doesn't it?
Yeah. And he went to the Bond headquarters. I mean, we'll let him, we'll wait till he gets back to talk about all of it. But I mean, he is officially at Oktoberfest right now. So we are going to sally forth on this weird week of matches. Maybe it's week 7, maybe it's week 8. We're not sure because the apps say next week is week 9 or October 1st is week 9, but technically
match week. Like, but
it's all
there was no match week 7. It was completely postponed.
Yes, because of the death of Queen Elizabeth II, it has all thrown. Or I should say, yes, because but the funeral that's happening right now, you know, it's thrown everything off. So we've only got a few Premier League matches to get to, which I guess I can roll on into that. We're gonna go Arsenal's remaining the top of the league going into the international break following their 3-0 victory over Brentford. Man City also win, beating the Wolves 3-0. Haaland scored again. Wow, who would have thought? Also, we've Tottenham putting 6 past struggling Leicester. Whew, as a second half hat trick from
they
Son.
Look bad, don't they?
Man, looks so bad. He gets his goals account off the mark for the season. Well, you know what? We'll chat about these matches in just a second. And I'll read as you wrote here. Unfortunately, the Prince of Pennsylvania, Ron, is more like the Sultan of the sausage at the moment, as he's over in Munich, Germany, celebrating Oktoberfest. So Ron's beer news will return when he returns. I thought about being in solidarity with him. The brewery here, the German brewery, they opened at like 6 a.m. to tap at the same time.
That's right. I remember.
And I was going to do it. And I had to real late work on Friday. I was like, no, thank you. But that's okay, because that leads me to. I can segue straight into my beer.
Go ahead.
All right. So I was torn. If we hang out long enough, I'll go get a second one.
Okay.
From that glorious Tennessee brewery that actually makes German beer. But today, in honor of Ron, because I don't want to have an Oktoberfest where he gets the beer when he's back on the pod talking about how fresh his was. So I'm going to have mine now. It's I say this wrong every time. Weihenstephaner's Fest beer. Which that is the brewery that in Ron's last game with us, I got the question wrong, but it's the oldest brewery. We got it right that it's the oldest brewery, but as far as how old it was, we were like way off. Right. So the oldest, I think the oldest continuing brewery, you know, in the world, certainly the oldest in Germany. See, I've already forgotten Ron's game. That's terrible. I'd lose again. But I get their Fest beer every year. It's a little different than a Marzen. It's a little blonder, or it's got a yellow vibe. But if you are new to getting into the world of the Oktoberfest beers, it's fun because even though typical the styles of Marzen, they're different every year. A little bit, especially the traditional ones, like you can kind of taste the vibe, and you got to have them now. You don't want to hold on to these things. They're meant to have fresh, just like Ron is having fresh with his sausage right now. So there you go. Oh, and to open this beer, I should say, I'm trying to find everything from my old office, Ferris.
Yep.
I have my South of the Border bottle opener to pop this bad. I couldn't.
How did that? How did that make the move? And two, how's that one of the things that you've actually gotten out of the box?
I don't know, because we literally just have these boxes in our garage that every day we say we at least have to get one out, right? Sometimes we get more. Yeah. I have not gotten to the cool bottle openers that Ma Dukes gave us, your mom, but this bad boy, this South of the Border one, was stuck to our fridge because Kara had found it. So there you go. Back in the studio.
Love it. You know what, Blake? I kind of went similar to you in solidarity with Ron over in Munich, Germany at the moment. I grabbed a single can of a beer that we've already had on the pod before. I cannot tell you the episode, but it was a while back, and I believe we all had it in studio. But I have Big Storm's Oktoberfest Marzen Lager.
Did I bring this one on? I might have brought that one on.
You might have at the time, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember, but I think we went over at the time that it was named the overall winner in 2016 for the best Florida beer competition. So it's done in the true spirit of the Great German Festival. This Oktoberfest Marzen Lager is brewed in traditional Bavarian style, so you can enjoy the clean finish and toasty malt flavors your taste buds crave. And this is, I tell you, this is one of the best, not just because I have paychecks from that brewery, but even well prior to, and we had it on the pod back then when obviously I did not work at the brewery. It is just a fantastic, beautifully tasty Marzen lager to help celebrate the season with. And to also help celebrate the season, I snagged last year one of our half-liter Steins.
I'm upset because I have my German Polliner. I get so many cool German Steins. Don't know what box they're in.
But you got the South of the Border.
Got South of the bottle opener. Now, I actually do want to say one thing, if you don't mind, Ferris. I left off something about my beer. So I am having the Weissenhofer's Fest beer, Festbier, which if you look at the bottle, it's got the Oktoberfest, like Bavarian checkered flag. But it is not a Marzen. But what the difference is, a Fest beer is the beer actually served at Munich's Oktoberfest is related to Oktoberfest, but is definitely a distinct style. It's a pale lager with a clear Pilsner malt biscuit bent with some additional toasted malt flavors and support. So when you go there, you won't just get the Marzens like you encounter always here. So there's and who knows, maybe this is a good beer news thing Ron can give us some answers on, because this is definitely, I'm sure he will, like I mentioned, paler. It's got more of a Pilsner vibe. I'll bring this question to him. We'll see if we can stump the newly crowned German sausage king of Ron Keller when he gets back.
Some of the pictures that he sent though, and some of the food, some of the fun, the beer, that they just, or the pictures, they look like they're having a blast over there.
They were out there at the Matterhorn and the Bond layer thing. Oh my gosh, it's ridiculous.
It's so cool.
And it's his honeymoon. I don't know if we mentioned that, but you guys may have in the last pod, I think. Yeah. But it's his belated honeymoon after they got married this summer. Well, should we crack into this beer? Because I look forward to this one every year, because just like you are bringing a beer back, people will note we've had this beer I've had before on the pod as well, but I don't care. Every Oktoberfest, I look forward to it. And I apologize to listeners if you hear weird noises on my microphone. I'm having to hold it on a stick because I don't have room to put up my scissor arms for my mic. This is a very Bobo situation, as we used to say back in the day.
It's not one of those mics that they have over in England, though. That's like the lip mic. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, where they press that thing to you. I mean, I kind of one day want to, if we ever do a video podcast, truly, I almost want to get those. It's just have those on. Well, Prost, my friend.
Prost.
Ron, we missed you, buddy.
Safe travels. Have fun. Absolute goodness.
Now, Ferris.
Yeah.
I apologize.
You're good.
We had a toast. Do we want to toast Good Queen? Good Queen Elizabeth II and do our little moment of respect right here?
Yeah, we will speak to that. We just wish all of the royal family, the citizens, the entire United Kingdom, just hope everybody's doing well. The whole world's been in has thought of you guys over there, and we will say cheers and just have a quick 7-second moment of silence. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers.
Cheers to the Queen.
And there we go. Gosh, this beer is so good.
This is just every fall. I just want this beer.
Well, I may make it
so good.
I may make it to my second beer I was going to have on the pod because this one is not going to last long.
I unfortunately only have one can of this. It was given to me by our sales rep actually back in July. I've had it since July, sorry, maybe not July, maybe early August, and just have had it in the fridge and was like, I only got one can of it. I'll do it at the most appropriate time, and no better than with Ron being over in Germany and celebrating a little Oktoberfest across the seas.
Well, speaking of celebrating, Arsenal's back on top of the league after an amazing 3 matches for the weekend. Is that all we had for the weekend?
No, this was
4 or 5.
These are the top 3, but we had about 7.
Yeah, okay. I guess it felt so quiet for the weekend.
It did.
So on Sunday, kind of just here we had Arsenal finally get their revenge at Brentford. Boy, we've really blown up that game from last year, haven't we? And I say we as in like everybody that talks about soccer.
Mm-hmm.
But they get their revenge at Brentford Community Stadium, where if you remember last year, they lost season opener last year to the Bees 2-0. I mean, not like it was 4-0, but anyway. 2-headed goals in the first half by William Saliba. And star striker Gabriel Jesus, along with an early second goal from Fabio Vieira. First of the season. First for him in an Arsenal kit. And what a goal. Jeez. I mean, it was a fantastic goal. And that was more than enough for Arteta's main group to regain the top position in the Premier League by a point over Man City going into the final international break before the World Cup. I think the most important thing you wrote is that last couple of sentences there, because I think, losing to Man United, although playing well, it's not a game I felt like we rolled over. They played well. Man United was the better on the day, but it wasn't like a game like last year where you go, oh my God, this is terrible. They just gave up.
Right.
So I think coming out of that, going to Brentford, winning before this break for the World Cup is probably the most important thing. Look, Arsenal's. I was listening to Arscast today, and I really appreciate Gunner Blog. And by the way, if you're an Arsenal fan, you don't check them out, you totally should, because I love that they are a fan cast, but they also, while they'll talk trash about whatever group they don't like, they're very real about how they assess their own team.
Yeah.
and they're,
especially in the past 4 or 5 seasons.
But that runs both ways, actually. Whereas last year, when this match happened and they lost, they were like going, look, but it is just one game. Mm-hmm. Like, you know what I mean? I mean that in both ways, right? They parse things pretty well.
And we actually ran into some of them here. We remember
Gunner Blog was down here at Orlando. Yeah.
We actually rode a shuttle from essentially the Amway to
and we had
the Citrus Bowl with a lot of the guys that do that.
Yeah, that do like some of the big fan casts and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty awesome. But as Gunner Blog James said, I appreciate it was hey, but you know what? Like, can we be competitive? It seems like we can be. Will we stay at the top? I mean, Man City is so good. That's very hard to believe that that's the case. I don't care I don't care if who was sitting at top right now, a point above Man City, I'd say the same thing. But at the end of the day, I do feel like, hey, I think we're one of the good clubs this year. So that's kind of where I'm at. And I'm happy with that, because that is in a consistent fashion, I should say, as opposed to last year where there'd be moments of really good and then just. But
you're consistently beating the teams that you should be beating.
Well, but it's something I'll mention here too. I think it's like 4 or 5 of the dudes that played last year's game played this year's game, and that should tell you a lot. It's just a different team. At this point,
it is.
The fans cheered on Xhaka and gave him a song. Like 2 years ago, you would never, ever, ever have thought that
is true
was going to be possible.
This is very true. And not, the whole building with youth thing. What did you guys bring on a 15-year-old?
No,
you brought on, what was it, Jack Wilshere several years back at age 16, I think. But this is officially the youngest player to ever premiere in the Premier League?
Yes. I actually was going to say maybe the way we should have kicked this off is, Ferris, can you tell me what you were doing when you were 15 years old and 181 days old?
God almighty. Definitely not coming onto the Brentford Community Stadium pitch playing for one of the top sides in all of the world. And this is
Ethan.
That's insane.
This is Ethan, and I hope I pronounced it correctly. Nwaneri. It's an N there, but when I heard the commentators, a lot of times they were kind of dropping that N off. It sounded like, so I apologize if that's incorrect. But Nwaneri, and he came in like the 90th. Got like 1 foot on the ball. But it's it has to be reassuring for the kids who play in the academy, right? Like, you feel like, does that really change or do much? Well, it does for this kid. I mean, that's a big deal. But Arsenal, back in the Wenger days, was known to be a big proponent of its youth and its academy, and I would say that is a testament to standing behind that again. It's pretty much what that is what it seems like to me.
Yeah, they're definitely a much different side. Although that game against Brentford was early August, this about a month later than what that game would have been last year. Just a completely different confidence in the team. A lot of different parts and pieces that have come in and complemented the team. Actually having a number 9 now, in Jesus, having backs that are very solid. I think midfield is still a little bit light, especially without Partey being in there. But
he was in this match though.
He was back,
and you could tell what a difference. Like,
yeah. Do I think the back line is the best? No. You say Saliba, is he a better goal scorer or better defender? Because his highlights have certainly been his goals that he scored this year. His defending at times, maybe not. Rashford took him to town a bit when United played him, but he's a big lad. He's strong.
He's young.
He's a good defender. I think he's absolutely going to be a mainstay in that back line.
He just got the call up to the French national team, and that is a heck of a team.
Yeah, and he may not make the World Cup in a few months' time, but to be Liga's, was he the player or defender of the season last year?
I thought he was player of. I have to double check that, but
yeah.
To
come back and kind of adapt into the Premier League, you can see why those loan spells for players are just so are just so key at times, especially when they have the chance to go overseas.
It doesn't always work out, but he got into a club that he fit in well with, played a ton, and was exceptional. So then he was able to roll in here and for his age, jump straight into playing. Doesn't always work. You look at Hero when it does, because I mean, last year there was a lot of screaming of, we should have. What if we'd had him over here? What if we had him over here? But he got the time, he got to play because of that. He might not have started had he actually been available. Also, no Zinchenko, but Kieran Tierney in this match.
I love Tierney
as well.
Loved a good tucked in shirt player.
Well, interesting. They are, him and Zinchenko are interesting because they're both good, but very different. Tierney is like a solid defender. Zinchenko is going to get crosses and get you forward. And
yeah,
so they kind of two
more
different styles.
Money, more of the modern day fullback, where Tierney's more of your older school type fullback, where can offer a bit going forward, but has that primarily that defensive mindset based on positioning, pace, and being very defensively minded. I think the depth is something that Arsenal has certainly gotten more of, where they have not had that in the past.
Oh, we know Odegaard and Vieira stepped in and was quite good.
Yeah. And we'll see how good that depth is, and how much that may help Arsenal as cups are starting to play, and Europa games are starting to play. So it's
well, and this should actually be said for clubs across the leagues, because of the World Cup, and we've already brought up a few times, it causes a more packed calendar for everybody across the board. So everybody is going to be dealing with injuries, little niggles, people getting worn out. Like that's going to happen.
And even more so since we've already had a game postponed for all clubs.
Yep.
That and even some got 2 games postponed, which we'll go into here in a bit. That it's just gonna pile onto it, and trying to get as many games in before the World Cup, so that kind of back half of the season is as normal-esque, if you will. It is kind of the goal of what at least England's doing.
Well, and then the World Cup itself, like we think about the guys that are going to go play. But what about the ones who don't?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you imagine there'll be friendlies, or they're going to be doing something to.
Well, they're just gonna train, have to stay fit,
but then that's
do whatever they can.
So crazy, right? Like when they come back in, is it going to feel like the beginning of the season again, where people are
it might
reconnecting on their chemistry? And some clubs
certainly could.
I don't know that Leicester can save itself, but there may be clubs who are on the edge of a brink who, if they don't have a lot of players go to the World Cup, may jump back in
reset button
just right, just to try and especially this bottom of the table that we'll get to Leicester, but they seem very keen to stay at. But that's all I got to say about Arsenal. I mean, it's just nice to. I can't say I wasn't worried. I'm always worried about every match, right? If you're a true fan of your club, you always go, oh, I've seen them screw up before, right? So I've never just take anything easy, but it felt certainly within 15, 20 minutes this match like they got this. That header from Jay Juice too was awesome.
Yeah, I haven't seen all of the highlights of this game.
Have you seen the Vieira goal?
As I had my own game that day. I'm sorry.
Did you see the Vieira goal?
No, but I might have on social media. Actually.
That's a awesome way to score for your opening goal for your new club. That was an awesome goal. Way outside the box, just next to the post. Yeah, it was awesome. Speaking of awesome, I mean, I don't even know what to say about it other than, it's Man City. They beat the Wolves 3-0. Despite an already 2-goal lead by 16 minutes in, and playing a man up over the Wolves from the 33rd minute on due to a shocking karate style. Who does he think he is? Does he think that he is Zlatan? That was so wild. From Wolves defender Nathan Collins, Manchester City were only able to muster up one more goal in the 69th minute. Nice. But it was more than enough for them to secure all 3 points. Erling Haaland once again scored, taking his tally to 11 goals.
11.
In 6 matches because of the postponements?
No,
7 matches.
I believe,
seven
are
matches.
7.
Yeah, 7
They
matches.
should be at 7. Yeah,
that is wild. This helps keep City undefeated in the league. I mean, yeah, at some point, hey, look, I hope it's Arsenal that this is happening to, in the sense that they stay that consistently good. But at some point, they're just going to start creeping above whoever is just above them and just slowly pace ahead. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't even feel like they're gunning for it right now. I know that's crazy to say because some of the score lines, this all looks too easy for them.
But they are also one of only 2 clubs, and we'll mention them next, that are still technically undefeated in the season. So while City have had a couple of draws where you're like, oh man, they were down. They came back against, what was it, Newcastle? And they came back against Villa. They're still getting points. They still haven't lost yet. They still have that threat, that goal scoring, that midfield just domination that gets them wins, you know? And it was, when you say 3-0 and with a man down, you're like, oh, of course they scored 3 goals with a man down. No, those first 2 goals came quickly. And then it was like, okay, now we're done. You know, and obviously Pep wasn't going to allow that, and that wasn't how the players reacted in a way, but it was just, okay, now we just fit into just dominating the game, just controlling possession, taking our chances when we can, not giving anything up at the back. And then that foul kind of occurs, and it was absolutely a red. It wasn't, I don't think it was entirely malicious from Collins.
I don't think it was as malicious
as trying to get something kind of going and trying to go for a ball and not kind of realizing how high that boot was.
It's one out of context, looks real rough, but it's not as bad as
you could tell he knew it, and it was a hard time arguing whether his eyes were on the ball, whether his eyes were not. You know, you put studs into Jack Grealish's chest, who got a goal in this and hasn't got a goal actually in a while for them.
With his press conference with his one strand of hair beautifully hanging down in front of his face. I don't know if you saw it the whole time, but it was a thing on social media.
I love a good hair.
It was almost like the Superman kind of vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, and Jack Grealish, that goal was scored in the first minute of play. Not the fastest goal ever scored. I don't even think the fastest goal this season, but real quick. And then, you know, they kind of just see the game out, right? They have a few subs. They sub in Phil Foden, who scores, makes it 3, and Kevin De Bruyne gets another 2 assists, and it's just job well done. All 3 points, clean sheet. Let's go into the break and can then continue on. And guess who they play coming out of the break?
That's Arsenal, right?
No,
who do they come out?
Manchester United, I believe.
Oh, is the derby? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a derby.
Why did I think it was? I really thought Arsenal.
Arsenal. I think they play Arsenal not too long after that.
Okay,
but yeah.
Because that match just got moved.
Oh, that's what it was.
The Man City and Arsenal match got moved because of the funeral.
You might be right. Yeah.
And it's because Arsenal's Europa League got moved. So because the Europa League got moved, that's a whole other crazy situation. Because of the Europa matches that got shuffled around. So now Man City with Arsenal got moved around. And that's its own conversation of, you're from another country, your team's there ready to play. And it's like, well, I'm not, as an Arsenal fan, I'm not complaining, but why wasn't it a forfeit and that club gets its points?
Right.
You know, because they've done that before for other, you know, so it's interesting. Would they have done that if, you know, some smaller European country or something had a monarch die, and would they have done that and postponed, or just said, no, you got to take the forfeit? I mean, that's its own conversation. You know, it's kind of going on, but it'll be interesting to see how the dust settles on a lot of these things.
Yeah, I mean, but I you know, City haven't lost at all on this season. They won both of their Champions League games. Even you know, who scored the winner on their Champions League game midweek last week against his old club,
dude,
Erling Haaland.
You couldn't have
a 2-1 win over Dortmund.
It's like that script was written.
No, yeah, and to be honest with you, and even spells in this game, City weren't the best team the entire game.
No.
Wolves came out in the second half and really put it on them. And Dortmund, I think they were away to City in that match, really put it on City for a while.
I could actually see City winning the league apparently comfortable from the outside looking in, but points wise not being as far ahead as they have been in the past, like on paper looking closer than it is because they just have no problem. It's like, oh, we're not playing that great today. Well, Holland will get 2 of them in. It's fine.
Yeah. And it's not like he's scoring like complete, like tap-in goals. Like he's scoring with, flying through the air with his boot up high. Like he's scoring some very good just striker goals that they've missed, honestly. Goals that, I know it's really early still, and I know it may be blasphemous to say, but goals that Aguero wouldn't have been able to score.
No, I know. And not saying he's bad, obviously.
No, not at all. But it's just Holland's
this is
a freak of nature. He's just a man-child.
This is a perfect example, though, of, knock on wood, I absolutely wish nothing ill like this. But in this crazy World Cup year, what if he gets injured?
Well, hopefully that does not occur, right? We want to see the best players playing at all times. We want to see, all players.
But you're even talking about, like,
but injuries are a part of the game, and Holland has had them before.
So if he gets a strain or something that's even like he is going to come back, but when the Premier League starts back in, it's going to be 3 weeks. Those 3 weeks could be the entire difference of winning the league or not. Last year was they absolutely this close.
Absolutely could.
And
but again, they haven't lost on the season. They haven't lost in the Premier League. They're one of 2 undefeated teams, and the only other undefeated team is Tottenham.
Yeah, but no one talks about them like that, do they? Until maybe finally now.
You're right. No one talks about it like that because that they have a bit of that.
They could be a little
Arsenal
inconsistent
feel, right? That they could just screw that up as fast as they can be, as good as they can be, but it's not. You're not having that Liverpool effect where you're going to have a 2-horse race. You're having a lot of clubs in there. You have a lot of teams that are now going to be, have a game in hand. So it's going to be a tight just year all around. Who knows? Maybe City get out to that dominant kind of lead, and then everybody's battling for 2 through 5th. But at least for right now, it's very, very tight. And the difference between the top 4 is essentially, at least for 2 through 4, is 2 games and a game in hand, and it's just much not for tighter. Nothing. But you usually won't get until late October, November, where you start to see the teams kind of pull away. But with that World Cup happening at the end of November, will we see that, or will it still remain as tight as it's as it is now going into February next year?
And it's bonkers looking at the table because Brighton Hove is at 4th with 13 points
and a game in hand.
But a game in so. It's a wild. This is gonna be a wild year. It's gonna be a wild run. I mean, from COVID on, I guess we've been saying that. Oh, by the way, I heard someone phrase this terribly. I meant to say this when we met Nowerney, getting on the 15-year-old, the 15 and 181-year-old Arsenal player. Someone said, remember he was like 12 and a half when COVID started.
God.
Right, dude? Like, when you hear that
puts it into perspective, doesn't it?
You're like, oh, because they had said, like, he was born after the Emirates was built. Like, he doesn't, and like, okay. I mean, that is still young. But when someone said that, like, oh, he's like 12 and a half and COVID, so you're like, oh my God. Like, that's wow. Yeah. Anyway, just if if you want to feel old, there you go. Well, you were talking about Tottenham, their undefeated team. Tottenham, they put 6 past struggling Leicester as a second half hat trick from Son gets his goal count off the mark for the season. The first half in this one was a back and forth exciting affair, which saw both sides going into the half level on 2 apiece. Really fun match. Really thought Leicester was going to get a point out of this. And while 4 more goals were indeed scored in the second half, it was all Tottenham as they not only applied the pressure, but also brought Heung-min Son off the bench, who did not disappoint. entertained the London crowd to earn himself a 13-minute hat trick, with Tottenham securing all 3 points. They put themselves comfortably in third place on 17 points, equal to Man City. So Son has been a little quiet. They didn't
Not this one.
They didn't start him, and they brought him off the bench, and Conte was rewarded with a hat trick. I assume he will start the next match.
I would assume so. Tottenham were playing midweek as well in Champions League, where Son did not score again. So maybe it was a little bit of, we have one more game before going into the break. Maybe let's try a different kind of route with him, just to try to build some confidence in him, and that, that certainly seemed to work. And with Tottenham, they're quietly in there in third, right? But 5 wins, 2 draws, no losses, a plus 11, which is technically better than Arsenal and everybody else in the table besides Man City. They're scoring goals. They're being a Conte team in a way, right? They're not going to draw big headlines. Kane isn't scoring a hat trick every match. They're not blowing teams out. They are getting wins where they can. They're being a little bit more organized. They're being a little bit more industrious on how they get those wins. And honestly, that's kind of all Tottenham fans have really wanted.
Well, and it's funny you say a Conte team. It feels like he's been there for 5 years.
Yeah.
Because it feels
like he might have only been there a year now, an actual calendar year now.
But it feels like they are playing Conte ball so fast. Weird, man. I mean, one day I hope the book is written on the whole Pochettino situation. Obviously, he built something amazing at Tottenham. And then this whole PSG thing.
Still doesn't have a club right now.
Right. Wins that league, but then gets fired. And then, I don't know. I just, someone smarter than me who understands the analysts and tactics and all.
I hope Brighton bring him in. Because we haven't even covered that yet.
No.
Graham Potter's not even. I think that was because we didn't do a pod last week because there was no game.
True.
Queen's death, and
that's probably
happened shortly after.
That's the biggest news
Chelsea lost
that could or could not shake up the top 6. Is Graham Potter leaves? All right, you didn't put us in there, Ferris.
I did not.
Here's the thing. Okay, let's just say this, Leicester.
Okay,
are we ready to say they're going to get relegated before we move on?
No, it's still too early. They're god awful. I'm
willing to bet on 16th place or 17th.
I could go 16th
or 16th.
I could go 17th.
Yeah.
It's a little too early for me to say they're going to go down. They still have
a negative 12 differential. They're only worse than Bournemouth in that respect, but Bournemouth's in 12th.
Yeah,
they have
a game in hand,
point.
They have a game over most, but yeah,
they have 1 point.
They're 22 goals conceded is the most in the league.
So before we get to Graham Potter, how long does the barrage have?
Well, again, they can't afford to sack him. Can't afford to bring anybody else in. So he could have at least until the World Cup break, and then maybe you bring somebody in afterwards.
Pochettino, a shepherd manager for Leicester.
I'd love to see him at Brighton more so. I feel so bad for Brighton fans.
Yeah, we should move to that. I don't, okay, this is tough. On one hand, professionally, with the finances, you're trying to take care of your family and everything else. You understand why Graham Potter is going to take the job at Chelsea.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But on the same token, you go, man, bro, you probably are only there 6 months to a year and a half tops. Whereas if you were at Brighton.
That's a cynical way of thinking about it.
If you were at Brighton, and let's say Brighton drops all the way to 9th place by the time the season ends, and he was still the manager, he doesn't lose his job. But let's say Brighton's
that's
in
kind
there.
of what happened last season to an extent.
But right now,
for further than that, but yeah,
it was feeling like Brighton could at least get to Europa or the BS Europa underneath. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
To get into a European competition, I think was on the table for Brighton. He goes to Chelsea where they've got. I mean, is he an idiot American owner? Like everyone's making fun of him for being like, let's have an all-star game and let's make a playoff for the relegation and all this stuff. And people are like, dude, My favorite was a couple of tweets I saw going, I'm an American that follows English soccer because it's not like American sports. Can you shut up and get out? Like, you could love that. We're taking full advantage that Ron is not here right now on this pod. I think Graham Potter's probably got a job somewhere, no matter what, after Chelsea, but he's not going to be there long, right?
He certainly could be, right? It is under new ownership. All of those manager changes were not under Bowley.
But Tuchel,
he has a last name of Potter. Americans love the Harry Potter.
They do
series.
They do love, and they probably don't know any difference. Graham Potter,
no, exactly.
Which book is he? Harry's cousin?
Yes, he is. But what I feel for, and when I threw it out in our group text when it first happened, I said, "Can any of you boys think of the last time a manager in the Premier League left a club mid-season, not from being sacked,
actually, if Ferris
from still being employed,
not
and
mid-season,
a new club,
6 weeks?
Say what?
Not even mid-season, 6 weeks in,
yeah, but employed with Brighton and Hove, given the permission to talk to Chelsea and Bowley when they sacked Tuchel, and then gone pretty much that next day. And there's a lot of reports out there saying that this was a planned thing, or a preconceived thought or long-term plan. In a way, was always to bring him in and waiting for that kind of first chance to sack Tuchel, and it worked. I mean, it didn't work, but the plan came to fruition maybe earlier than they expected, if that was indeed the plan. We don't know if it actually was, but mid-season, 6 weeks to what you're saying. 6 weeks employed with the club, moved to another club. When's the last time that's happened in the Premier League?
I can't recall.
I can't recall it.
Like, and a well-beloved manager, people thought, there are a lot of people that liked seeing this club punch above its apparent weight, you really hope that they don't collapse. I hope. Now, he didn't get his whole staff with him like a lot of coaches do, right? Most of them end up staying at Brighton. I'm very curious to see how this shakes itself out. And it's tough for Brighton because, man, what's that old saying? Like, a manager can make a great group of players 10% better. A bad manager can make them 90% worse, Yeah. And then what was going with Tuchel? Tuchel is a good manager by all intents and purposes. Mm-hmm. Like, he won the Champions League. Something was going on there.
New ownership, right? I mean, you think about it.
And the players too, right?
Times
there seemed to be some weirdness going on with some of the players.
Yeah, there absolutely did. But most times with new ownership or new management group, they want their own people, their own thought, their own mindset on how to run their business, their organization, their club in this sense. So that, I think that played into it a lot. And, I do kind of believe those reports that they always wanted Potter. They wanted since they came in, and when was the time to do it? And the way it happened so fast, and Potter to start off so well with Brighton, and almost, it wasn't even by the end of the week when Chelsea got beat in the Champions League before Potter was in.
That's so crazy,
right?
That's bonkers.
Right. It is really a interesting story that when Ron gets back, I'd like to get his, because we've just texted between now and then. We haven't actually talked to Ron and figured out.
Well, the general consensus, though, even from Ron, is he just feels bad for Brighton Hove.
Yeah,
I mean that's a real crap situation, and for their sakes, I would love to see them get into Europe somehow. I know it's still early in the season and they've been playing great. Man, I really hope they can. That's rough. Yeah, we really totally should have put this one. We should have planned to talk about this one because I forgot we didn't get to talk about it.
Until we started to.
Well, last week with all the matches being off, it threw everything. It threw everything off completely. Though I appreciate you guys could get together to talk about Man United beating Arsenal. That's fun. You definitely made time for that.
You you got out of that one.
But you know what?
I'm moving to a new house. Oh, yeah. Sure.
I looked back, and that has happened in our past before where, like, Man U beats Chelsea or vice versa, or and whoever, like, did, like, something was up and they weren't in that pod, or we don't do it. Yeah. That's definitely happened before.
Oh, yeah.
I promise that was not the case. I literally was closing on a house and moving. I mean, look, today, part of me was like, I don't even think I can do this. And, like, I just was like, all right, I'm going to figure out how to make this happen. I wish there was an outside camera to look at how stupid this setup is.
I love it.
Shall we move on then and just kind of bounce to the rest of the Premier League before we get over to the La Liga's roundup?
Sure. Kind of quickly covering the other matches that were. There's about 4 others. And start off on some of the Friday matches. Jacob Ramsey's lone goal just before half was enough for Villa to secure their second win on the season by a scoreline of 1-0. And against a Southampton team that have kind of been on the same path as them so far. Just kind of not terrible, not great, kind of there in the 10 through 16 range, and just kind of a odd match in a way. Also on that Friday, there was 2 on Friday actually, and Nottingham Forest once again gave up a lead and allowed 3 goals from Fulham in the span of 6 minutes coming out of the half to hand Forest their 5th loss on this young
season. And Nottingham
season.
can score.
What's that?
It's a shame Nottingham can score. Like
they can't defend though.
To be a newly promoted club, I just mean though they have the ability to score. I mean, yeah, they got a negative 11 goal differential, but that is because they just cannot defend at all, not because they aren't scoring.
They spent like £160 million, and it doesn't prevent the ball from going in the back of the net, and nowhere has it going in the other net as many times as they'd like. It's just, you bring in that many players, it may take some time for them to gel, to we talked about this, right? We talked about this on our preview pod. Fulham did this a few seasons back where they essentially brought in a whole new starting lineup, new players off the bench, and they just were terrible all season because they didn't gel, they couldn't defend, they couldn't score goals as frequently as needed to stay up in the league. And you're kind of seeing that right now from Forest, like some good players on the team, but just not a cohesive team effort to see out games. This is like their second or third game in a row where they've had a lead and lost.
Yeah, and they're sitting now in 19th with 4 points. So yeah, they gotta shore up something there, or they're just out. That's not gonna happen.
Yes, they do. Newcastle. Just pushed all match, and it had to come back from a goal down against Bournemouth as they drew 1-1.
That was a fun match.
That was enough for Eddie Howe. Hey, what? Sorry.
So that was a fun match, actually.
Yeah. It was back and forth. It was just enough for Eddie Howe's new men to kind of muster up enough for his previous men, as he was obviously the manager of Bournemouth last time they were in the Premier League.
And I know we're only on match week 7 or whatever, 8. We couldn't figure it out. But Bournemouth, we kind of thought easy relegation, and hey, they're sitting in 12th right now. So if they can keep scrapping these points here and there, maybe they can. And West Ham and Nottingham Forest can keep dropping the ball. Maybe they survive.
And a quick call out, Alexander Isak for Newcastle, their £70 million striker signing, gets the lone goal in this via a penalty. It already has 2 or 3 goals on the season, a handful of chances and shots, and just looks like a striker that they needed to kind of really help push them in the direction that Newcastle wants to go and where their fans kind of want them to go. And you said West Ham. Well, West Ham lost.
Ooh. Who did they lose to?
Everton, as Neil Mbappe gets his first with his new club, as his lone goal was enough for Everton to earn their very first win on the season. I mean, West Ham currently in the relegation zone in 18th. Not good.
No, and not looking, not a team that's sitting in relegation right now where you go, oh, well, they'll work it out. I mean, maybe not.
I think they have a better chance than Leicester to work it out.
Oh, I agree. At this point, I would call Leicester to get relegated before West Ham. I agree 100%.
Oh, easy. Yeah, easy.
But I actually would have argued
scored a lot,
well,
right?
And
They've only scored 3.
I would have argued Everton was worse than them, to be honest.
Yeah. But I mean, West Ham have scored the lowest or joint lowest with Wolves, who are just up there in 17th, than anybody else in the Premier League. Holland doubles in 2 games, in back-to-back Premier League games with his hat tricks, doubles the amount of goals that both
at
of those
the end of the year. At the end of the year, we should just figure out if the team was only Holland, where he would have placed at in the Premier League when it's all said and done. I bet it's not in the relegation zone.
Easy. It just, they're not scoring any goals. They're not giving up a whole heck of a lot. Like, it's only 9 that they've given up. So they're on a -6. They've won 1, drawn 1, and lost 5. But West Ham are just dire right now. And Everton have some spirit, right? I mean, they have 4 draws. They've only lost twice. So 4 draws and their first win, only on a -1 for Everton. Jordan.
And how many goals is that against Everton, you said?
A big part of that.
Yeah.
And they've only, they've scored 5, so not a big amount, and they're going to kind of struggle. But to have Neil Mbappe, who not Mbappe, Neil Opai.
In my head, I
like
hear Mbappe every time. I'm with you.
I want to, but to have him get off his mark in this game and was I wouldn't say prolific, but a solid goal scorer for Brighton when he played for them.
If they squeeze out of relegation area, it'll be because of him, probably.
It could be because of his goals, absolutely, because those are goals that they miss right now because Richarlison, who's over at Spurs, is not there, and his goals kept them up last year.
Gosh, man, I'm sitting there looking at the table as you're going through it, and I'm just like, Leicester City, 22 goals against. 7 games in? I don't know, man. I might be. In another week or two, I might want to, can we pay money to change our vote at the beginning of the season about relegation? Because oof.
But before you kind of run us through the table, Blake, there were 3 postponed matches this weekend due to the Queen's passing, funeral, and lack of police forces that were able to kind of assist with these games. And those were Palace at Brighton. Manchester United was supposed to host Leeds. And then a big match on Sunday of Chelsea and Liverpool at the Bridge was supposed to take place.
I got to be honest, I was shocked that Arsenal-Brentford as a London derby happened.
Yeah, you think, I was a little bit surprised at Palace Brighton being in London. But you're right with that Brighton and Arsenal match, and you just assume because Manchester and Leeds has quite a
Brentford.
Yeah, sorry, because Manchester and Leeds have quite a ferocious rivalry and kind of fan base in the past that you want that extra security there at the games, and then Chelsea and Liverpool, obviously 2 big clubs. Supporters that travel with that also being in London just probably didn't think that there was quite enough there. But wasn't the Queen's service was it on Saturday or Sunday?
Was it yesterday? What is today? Is today Monday?
Today's Monday.
I feel like I was looking at video that was live from yesterday, but I could be wrong. It's hey, forgive us ignorant Americans. We're all still confused about the fact that your Queen's on Canadian money. We don't understand what's going on. Like we
That's true. I forgot about that.
Right. I'm like, oh, right. Because now they're talking about all these things, the Commonwealths, and I'm like, oh yeah, I really don't. I'm very ignorant on what that really means. They were talking about like the monies would change and things like that, and I was like, I feel like as someone who really likes the UK and likes visiting and stuff, I'm like, I should know a little more about some of how this all works.
But
anyway,
we don't.
But I do love some Premier League, and I can walk you through it real quick. So just real fast, running down the table as it stands right now, before going into international break, we have Arsenal up top, goal differential 7, and they've played all 7 matches that they could have played
10.
At this point. Or sorry, you're right, goal differential 10. At 18 points. Man City in second with 17 goal differential and 17 points. Tottenham Hotspur's 11 goal differential, 17 points. Brighton Hove and Albion, 6 goal differential, 13 points at number 4. And Man United at 5 is the first time we kind of were at 0 for the goal differential at 12 points. And then 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Both Brighton and Manchester United have a game in hand.
Yes,
too,
they do.
way.
They have each only played 6 matches. Fulham at 6 with 7 matches, 11 points. Chelsea in 7th with 6 matches and 10 points. We'll see if they get a Potter bounce. Will they Wingardium Leviosa into a new?
Oh, I see what you did there. Well done.
You got to think about that when you write the new headlines for when when the games return. Or will they turn to the dark arts? We'll see. Speaking of the dark arts, Liverpool in 8th. They are sitting at 9 points, 9 goal differential. I think the story, just real quick, I think it's just injuries. And it may be too late, to be honest, as tight as the seasons have been, if they get everybody back tomorrow to catch up. But
a bit of injuries, a bit of just odd play, maybe tired legs. Just because there's so many games and how they, it could be a number of things at this point. I just don't think they're going to end up in 8th.
But shout out to Jurgen Klopp for being the funniest response to Chelsea's new owner's different suggestions about an all-star game. And he was like, yeah, sure. Why don't they just bring out the Harlem Globetrotters too? And we can do that.
Love it.
God, that was amazing. Still want to get a beer with Jurgen Klopp. I don't care if I don't pull for Liverpool. I would still have one with you. God, he'd probably drink you under the table at Oktoberfest.
Oh, easy.
Easy, man, with those giant teeth just cracking the bottles open or tapping the keg with it. At 9th, we have Brentford sitting at 9 points. They've Liverpool, I should say, game in hand as well. So does Chelsea. Brentford sitting, they played all their matches so far, 9 points. Newcastle United, 8 points, sitting in 10th place. Leeds at 11th with 8 points. Bournemouth at 12th with 8 points, but a negative 13 goal differential. That's definitely the worst one that we've hit thus far. I was going to say the top 10, but in the top 12. 13th, we have Everton sitting with 7 points, negative 1 goal differential. Like you said, Jordan Pickford, probably the man, if they do survive, it really is probably because of him more than anything. Southampton sitting with 7 points. They are in 14th place. Aston Villa in 15th place with 7 points. Crystal Palace with 6 points in 16th. That's probably the shocker for me right now. I feel like they're a better team. They still have a game in hand.
Takes them into 9th.
Though this is true. They get 9 points, and you're right. You're right. But it is. They're having a rougher start than I would have guessed for the season. The Wolves at 6 points, with 7 matches. They've played all their matches so far. And then 18, 19, and 20th, West Ham, Nottingham, and Leicester. Leicester with, West Ham and Nottingham with 4 points. Leicester with 1 and negative 12 goal differential. And again,
0 wins on the season. The only team to have 0 wins.
And I'm reading that right. 22 goals against, right?
Yeah.
That is, I can't, that is.
No, I mean, they've scored 10. So it's not terrible, not compared to 3 and 6 like some of the teams, but 22 goals. You gotta defend first. 22.
That's brutal. The Braj. I mean, maybe he survives just because I don't know what else they'll do. But
3 point some goals a game right now that they're giving up. That's not good.
No, it's really rough. And Dave, it just feels like the air has been let out and no one is pumping the tire back up, man. I almost feel like
international break is the time where
they have got to come back strong.
They want it.
They got to come back strong. And if it might be one of the situations where even if you don't have a great answer, canning Brandon Rodgers may be the answer in a little bit just to see if you get any bounce or something. Because there will reach a point of, I mean, it's broke. Do anything to fix it. Just anything at all, That being said, I would like to say back to Bournemouth, we freaked out. They fired their manager so fast. It'd be wild if they actually survive. Right. Because we kind of talked a bit of trash about that.
Yeah.
Because it was so soon into the season. But, totally screwed up our predictions. All right. Well, that's our Premier League. Let's roll on over to the Ligas, as we do not have any beer news since our maestro of the Sultan of Sausage, Ron Keller, is at Oktoberfest. He'll probably be waking up in a few hours. I wonder if he'll be dehydrated from all the pretzels.
Right. Well, I will start off the Ligas roundup with Prost.
Oh, yeah.
As I open a Sierra Nevada Oktoberfest Amber Marzen, I believe from last year. That was in the old beer fridge.
Perfect.
So, Prost. Well, it's Bayern Munich, who are currently in 5th? 9. Jaw. Did I say that right for German, yes?
Yeah.
Y'all.
Yeah, it looks like Jowl, but yeah, it's I think
9.
That's what
they're in 5th.
Your
they are currently there. That's not a lie right now. After 7 matches and suffering the first defeat on the season to FC Augsburg by a scoreline of 1-0, the German Giants currently sit outside of the Champions League places in 5th. Do we think they'll be there by the end of the season? No,
but they are missing a certain someone right now.
They are. But that didn't really stop them, because they still beat Barca midweek, even with that certain somebody.
They did
in the Champions League. But it's certainly it's not the start that the Munich club wanted to not only start their season, but of course the start of Oktoberfest. Being in Munich and that being the predominantly favorite club to play, it's probably not how most people that wanted to celebrate the start of the season wanted to start with a loss there. But have you seen Bayern's Oktoberfest kits?
No, but I'm going to look it up right now.
Glorious. They're gorgeous. Like I won't buy one because I'm not a Bayern fan, but they are glorious. Moving on. Over in the capital, though, we got to give some love to FC Union Berlin, who sit atop of the German table currently on 17 points, 2 points ahead of Borussia Dortmund, who are in 3rd. Just what a start to the season this Berlin squad is having, as they are currently undefeated in the league with 5 wins and 2 draws, one of those draws being against Bayern. So, FC Berlin with an American, Jordan Pifak, who goes by Subicu or something to that extent over there. But they are just... Oh,
it's a glorious jersey. You are right, by the way. So it's good.
The kits?
Yeah. That's
they're awesome, aren't they?
Yeah, it's nice.
Sharp. But Union Berlin, who came up, I believe, just last year and stayed in the league. Will they probably end in 1st? Probably not. But just awesome start to the season. Hopefully, if they drop, they don't drop that far and actually get themselves into a Champions League place this year. Dortmund, again, they sit in 3rd on 15 points, while SC Freiburg sit in 3rd on 14 points, and Hoffenheim round out the top 4 on 13 points. And, of course, you have Bayern, who are again in 5th with 12 points. Prost Español.
You've sent me down a rabbit hole, by the way, of Oktoberfest kits. I didn't know that was a thing, and it's pretty cool.
I believe they do one every year.
They do. The green one last year, it was even cooler. I like that one a lot.
I like that, Oktoberfest. I don't. What's the official color?
So
would it be that light brown, or would it be the blue?
It's the Bavarian flag. The blue and white checkered flag that you see.
Yeah.
That's the Bavarian flag. So that is okay. Oktoberfest colors. Traditionally, but there's also you have a lot of I know because I helped us put one on at my new job here this year. We're having an Oktoberfest on the mountain, my friend.
That's awesome.
And they're and it's the blue and white comes from the Bavarian flag. So that's what you see there.
Awesome. Prost Español. Real Madrid remained perfect on the season after 6 matches in the league as they beat their crosstown rivals Atletico 2-1 on Sunday. Just a first-half brilliance display from Real, which saw Federico Valverde grab his 3rd goal in 3 matches, as his 36-minute strike ended up to be the game winner in this one. They, of course, sit in 1st and are on 18 points, and Madrid are just... they are such an just strong, organized, thorough bunch that led by Ancelotti, is just absolutely just brilliant on the pitch.
I gotta tell you, man, if there's a club that could snag a double this year,
might do.
Yeah, they look tough. Yeah.
Their bitter rivals, though, in Barcelona are only 2 points behind them and sit in second on 16 points as they beat 10-man Elche. I believe that card was real early in the match by a scoreline of 3-0. And Lewandowski, of course, grabbed himself another brace in the league. So he's doing well in league play, at least for them. Did not score against Bayern midweek, but did score, I believe, in the first Champions League game. But he's just fitted in as well as you could think there.
Oh yeah.
You know, if he was Holland, you know, I don't know, if that was Holland at, I don't know. You know where I'm going with that, though.
Yeah, it's hard to make a comparison because I got you though.
Yeah. He's just fit into a new club and a big boy as well as Holland has, and he's just been absolutely great. To kind of round out the Spanish table, Real Betis and Athletic Club round out the top four in Spain, with both of those clubs earning victory on the weekend. Please
tell me before you get to the next league that you saw the text I just sent you with the 2018 German third tier side. 1860 Munich unveiled their Oktoberfest themed kit. I want that. It also it has quote unquote leather shorts. It looks like a lederhosen thing. It's
So is this year?
No, that's from 2018. It's a third tier.
Where do we find that?
A third tier club regular release celebratory jerseys ahead of the festival in Munich. He's wearing the Bavarian flag. It's blue and white checkered, and the soccer shorts are legit faux leather to look like.
Can we find that kit?
I mean, this is awesome.
I would get that kit
in a heartbeat.
Put on the back with whatever number I wanted. Probably 22, and then it said Prost at the bottom.
I mean,
get
it's pretty awesome, man.
That is an awesome kit.
It's 1860 Munich is the club. Mm-hmm. That anyway,
which I believe are in the second tier of German football.
Yeah, we should. If I'd known about this, I'd have said, Ron, find this while you're there.
Yes, right now. Go and see if it's still somewhere in a thrift German store or something. Like, I don't know if they have those.
I mean, don't be wrong. The blue and white checkered kit is awesome, but the fact that they made shorts to look like lederhosen that's the key. That's the topper.
I have enough faith in Ron that if he was to see those shorts somewhere, he would buy them.
You're probably not wrong about that.
Because him and his bride, they are wife now, but I say bride because they're on the honeymoon. They did buy like the lederhosen, and then what's the female version of that?
Bunderhosen, lederhosen, and I know I can't. It's the typical thing you imagine though, like the Polliner girl, like yeah.
But I can't, there's an actual name for it.
Yeah, you've lost me.
I know. Anyways, while you look that up, Prost de Pasta. It's Napoli who go into this international break atop of the Serie A table, actually, and they are tied on points with Atalanta on 17 after 7 matches. Not only were both clubs winners on the weekend, but Napoli beat last season's Scudetto winners AC Milan on the weekend by a scoreline of 2-1, while Atlanta beat Jose Mourinho's Roma 1-0. Now, neither of them being AC Milan or Roma are in the top 3 or 4 places, as those are occupied by Udinese and Lazio, who won their matches on the weekend, but they are in those 5th and 6th places, followed by Inter and Juventus, who, I don't know if you saw this, Blake, lost to the bottom of the table at the start of the weekend, team Monza.
Ooh.
By a scoreline of 1-0, yeah. Juve are having a very rough start to the season. Currently in 8th, 2 wins, 4 draws, and a loss. just not quite the Juventus that we have come used to watching in the past several years. So far. Still not a bad team, but so far, not off to a good start in the Serie A league play. Were you able to find what a...
No, I can't find the name of it. It's making me crazy. I'm going to hear it and know exactly what it is. I was trying to see if I could find that club's current kit for Oktoberfest this year and send it to Ron, but I can't find it. I was trying to find that.
Oh, it's Dermlin?
Wait a minute. I may have found for 2022.
Oh,
it says 1860 Munich's new Oktoberfest jersey, so German you can smell the Gorschnitzken.
Is that you saying that, or is that what
I don't know
is
how to
written in
say
the
it?
article?
Yeah. I'll send you that one. It's not as good as the blue one, but it's
Okay.
still pretty good. It's still pretty good.
Moving on the Liga's roundup, we have a Prost de Uber Eats, as it is, of course, PSG, who are clicking pints and eating baguettes atop of the food delivery service table on 22 points after 8 matches.
The Uber Eats it never loses its appeal to me.
It's the content that just keeps on giving all year long.
The whole year, Clark.
The whole year. Messi's lone goal in the 5th minute was enough for PSG to beat Lyon, sending them down to 6, actually. But it's Marseille who drew 1-1 to Stade Reims on the weekend. That's just 2 points behind the French league giants as they sit in 2nd currently. Lorient and Linz round out the top 4 over in France. And, as the French Ligue 1 continues, you should see PSG pulling away. They haven't lost yet on the year. Plus 22 goal difference. But, if they win the food delivered to your doorstep table, it's going to be something that the likes of Neymar and Messi and Mbappe can just really put on their trophy stand of like Patrick Stewart or an Uber Eats delivery bag.
Patrick Stewart and
put
Mark
it up
Hamill.
there as we were 2022 Uber Eats league winners. Coming over to the States, we're going to kind of
we're going to swing on over to MLS and NWSL.
Yeah, just because it's starting to kind of, I don't want to say heat up because it's been heating up for a bit, especially as they play in the summer over here. But the playoff race, more or less, is really starting to.
Everybody wants it. You know what I mean? But nobody wants to hold on to some of those spots. Like people come out swinging and then they screw up the next week, and it's quite fascinating watching this race to the end.
But you have some teams that have already secured their spots, right? So over in the East, you have Philadelphia, Montreal, and New York, who have all secured their spots in the playoffs. And you have in the West, LAFC, Austin, and Dallas, who've all secured theirs, with currently LAFC have clinched the Supporter Shield and the number 1 conference seed. Or no, I'm sorry. They haven't. I'm sorry. I got a little bit ahead of myself. They have not clinched the Supporter Shield. They have They have clinched the West Conference top spot, where the Union have not done that yet. They have not clinched. The Union and LAFC are still battling it out for the Supporter Shield. So I know there's a lot in MLS. There's a lot of playoff Supporter Shields, who clinches, who doesn't. So there's a lot there, but those clubs that, you know, have clinched in the East and West have just been solid all season. And now it's just battling out for the places that they're in to ensure that they get kind of a home field advantage throughout the first few rounds.
Still, man, like Montreal.
Yeah.
Not someone I think any of us had picked to do that.
No, but quietly sitting good in second there. You have the two New York teams sitting in third and fourth, and then you have our Orlando team with a big win, beating Toronto and eliminating Toronto from playoff contention on Saturday. They beat them by the scoreline of 4-0.
That's a perfect example, though, of a club that like, hell yeah, and then next week you don't know. It's a little up and down.
Yep. So that's your top five, and then to round out your playoff places in the East, you have Cincinnati, FC Cincinnati, who remember ended the bottom of the East last season, up there in 6th and looking at and a good position to make the playoffs this year, and then hanging on in that final 7th spot, you have FC Miami, who sit on 42 points. Now they're tied on points with Columbus, but that I believe head to head, because I don't think they do goal difference. I believe it's that head to head with a bit more, and it kind of goes off of the win column more. So again, over in the East, you have Philadelphia Union, Montreal, New York Red Bulls, New York City, Orlando, Cincinnati, and Miami that round out your 1 through 7 playoff places. Then those that are in contention for the playoffs can still technically points-wise make the playoffs if they knock out New York, Orlando, or Cincinnati, or Miami, are Columbus in 8th on 42 points, Atlanta in 9th on 40 points, who's had just a bunch of turmoil this season. Their captain was suspended for turn over a table full of bread and soup or whatever the hell they had. Then you have Charlotte in 10th on 38 points, tied on points with New England in 11th. And those are your 4 clubs that are jockeying and fighting to be in those playoff places, along with Miami, Cincinnati, and Orlando. So it'd be interesting to see in the East, points are within a game or two with some of these, and those 6-pointers, those quick games can really be the difference here of knocking a club out of the playoffs or helping a club get in the playoffs. And then, as previously mentioned, you have Chicago, Toronto, and DC, 12th through 14th in that order, who are all eliminated from the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. Over in the West, again, LAFC has clinched their number 1 spot in the West. You have Austin, who have been fantastic this season, sitting second. FC Dallas, who have been, just Texas is doing soccer awesome at the moment.
They
two
are,
of the 3 clubs doing really, really well. Nashville, kind of a resurgence in the second half of the season, where they started off kind of slow. They have now found their way up to 4th in the West. You have Portland currently in 5th, Minnesota in 6th, and the Galaxy with their win sitting in 7th. Now you have Portland on 46 points, Minnesota on 45 points, LA on 43 points. LA is currently tied with Salt Lake on 43 points. A game back, points-wise, you have Vancouver. Then you have Seattle.
Yeah.
Well, everybody expected Seattle were a lock for the playoffs. As of this moment, they are on the outside looking in.
And they need a lot to go their way.
Yes, they do. They need, the reason Vancouver are essentially a game out is they are 3 points away, or at the current time, 3 points and a win away if Salt Lake and LA lose. Or gold, it's so tight where Seattle essentially has to get 2 games ahead of those, right? They have to get a 6-pointer and win back-to-back games and hope that points are dropped by Vancouver, Salt Lake, and LA to get themselves into just that final spot even. It's just not looking good for them.
Did either of us pick them as the big team that doesn't make the playoffs? I don't think they did.
Think so. I will look back.
I really don't think that's the case. I don't think any of us did.
I don't see why any of us necessarily would have.
And we also might have screwed up and said that they were winning. Like,
yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question though.
But it's certainly what no one was anticipating.
No, it's just not. What Seattle has brought in the past several years and how they go about it. They are just a team that you would not think at the moment are on the outside looking in with what they've done and how they in the past have at least gone about their work on the field. And of course we beat them 3-2 midweek just a few weeks back. So it's just not quite the same club as they have been in the past. As I did bring up, actually,
our predictions are pretty bad, I'm sure.
You want to know who had them winning the championship?
Was that me?
No, it was me.
Okay. I really thought I had, so that's why I was asking.
No, your pick actually is quite good. Your biggest team to miss the playoffs, none of us are going to get. And then Ron was nowhere near who's going to win the championship with him. But yeah, I definitely picked, Seattle to win the championship. Not quite sure what I was thinking there, but anyways, my Rapids sit in 11th currently on 39 points, same as Seattle, but they are technically not eliminated from playoff contention. Those teams in the West that are eliminated from playoff contention are Kansas City, which is a bit of a surprise, Houston, and San Jose Earthquakes. So just a few more matches to be played in the MLS, and we will have our playoff teams solidified in a nice bracket, as we do here in America, of who's going to play who.
Does that swing us over to NWSL?
It does, to kind of cap our soccer talk on the pod this evening. The NWSL is also in that kind of playoff mode right now with, I don't know if you saw, Blake, but the match on the weekend that broke the NWSL attendance record, San Diego versus Angel City.
Yeah, the pre-sales had already been nuts, but I knew it was going to be huge. I'll tell you, man, San Diego playing well. Does Alex Morgan look like she is enjoying life so much right now?
Oh yeah, back in her hometown,
and she's playing great.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was a primetime match. It was just. It was a great advert for the league. It was what the game needed. It was, only a 1-0 win, and none of your big names got on the score sheet, but in front of the crowd, I think it was the Snapdragon Stadium.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken. 30-some thousand. Just a great, a great showing for the league, and I hope that continues, with the league, because I think the previous record might have been us here with the Citrus Bowl, or
I think so.
I hope that as some newer teams join, as some of these big name players go back to their hometowns or continue to make moves to these newer expansion type clubs, that it kind of grows the league more. But table wise, and what we currently have in the NWSL is you have the San Diego Wave, who sit at top of the table on 34 points, followed by the Houston Dash in 33 points, and Kansas City Current, who are also on 33 points, sitting in third. Portland Thorns, always dangerous, and they currently sit just a point behind the second and third place clubs on 32 points, so can still, points-wise, end up at the top of the table with just a game or so if results go their way. OL Reign sitting 5th on 31 points. Chicago Red Stars sitting 6th on 30 points. And then in 7th, you have Angel City FC. And they're on 26 points. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and the NWSL site does not do the best job of showing who is currently in the playoffs and who is currently not. But I believe it's just the 1 through 6 teams, if I'm not mistaken, that make.
Their site stinks. It's the tops. It's the top 6.
Top 6, right? Yeah. So 4 points out of 6 right now from Angel City. They've had some injuries. A lot of Kristen Press. When Sid went there, she got an injury. So a lot of those striker options for them are kind of hurting them a bit. Still time and can still get into the playoffs, but we would have to have results go their way and then also kind of win out for the season. You have North Carolina, who's sitting 8th on 25 points. Not out of it either, but again, results need to go their way and they kind of need to win out for the remainder of the season. Our Orlando Pride, I believe mathematically, are we mathematically out of it?
We gotta be, right. It's 21 points.
Yeah, I think the game on Friday actually put us out of the playoffs. Sorry, I should have known that going into it. But nonetheless, if we're not mathematically out of it, the likelihood is not great at all right now. We're sitting on 21 points in 9th place. And, for the Pride, with the turmoil that the Pride have gone through, still not having a head coach at the moment.
Oh, gosh. What a mess.
And a lot of the just the mess that the Pride have been and what we've talked about on the pod to not be in last and to be ahead of teams like the Spirit and Gotham is quite an accomplishment from Seb Hines and all of those players there. Aforementioned Spirit sitting 10th on 19 points. Not the season that obviously the title holders currently, who currently the current champs wanted to go into this season, but they've dealt with some injuries for vast majority of the year. Haven't had their big name players, which are like about 4 or 5 of them that have been on international duty with the U.S. They just not quite clicked, and they themselves in their own right have been in a bit of turmoil with their head coach and ownership and so on and so forth. Then you have Racing Louisville and Gotham finish out your 11th and 12th, and certainly not the season that the Gotham team have wanted there, as just 12 points on the season, 4 wins in total, just not good enough. And only one of those wins at home in front of that crowd.
Yeah, that's super rough.
Just not good. But just a few more games left, and we will have our 6 teams vying for the playoffs in the NWSL.
Excellent. Does that wrap up our soccer talk for the day, my friend? Well, the beers we had, thanks for listening. Remind you of the beers that we had today. I had the Weistan. I worked on this before we started the show, and I'm terrible at Weihenstephaner. Weihenstephaner. Damn it.
The way that I have
Fest beer.
butchered names, you're perfectly fine.
And you had some Big Storm Oktoberfest, correct?
I did. And then, yes, I had some Big Storm Oktoberfest in my half-liter Big Storm Stein glass here. And then the second beer that I kind of opened up was Sierra Nevada's Oktoberfest Amber Marzen from last year.
Well, it's probably going to be bonkers. I'm going to try to get over to the Oktoberfest one here in Knoxville at that German joint. So I'll get some pics from there when we head over there. It won't be as cool as Ron's. I'll just try to pretend.
No, it won't.
Fine.
But hopefully, the next time we do this pod, he'll be back safe in the States and less hungover probably, and telling us all the fun stories of Bavaria and beer and sausage.
I'm sure there's going to be some good ones. Do you, well, as always, follow us, go to thebrutifulgame.com, but follow us on Twitter, follow us on Untapped. We'll get these beers up there. Follow us on, Facebook, wherever you want to chat with us at. If you enjoy the show, do us a favor, tell your friends. It helps us. And leave a review if you can, however you listen to us, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, whatever. And just, if you want, take a screen grab of that review, and, we'll get a koozie or some stickers or something out to you with the Brewtiful Game to say thank you. Thank you for that. I believe that wraps us up, except for your Zlatan quote. Are we doing one?
I don't. The book is currently.
Oh, it's at Ron's house, isn't it?
Ron's
at the studio
house. However, courtesy of the internet, I do have a few.
Excellent.
When Arsenal manager Arsene Wenger offered the then teenager Ibrahimovic a trial, do you want to know what Zlatan's response was?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I do.
Zlatan doesn't do auditions.
Amazing. Could you even fathom the two of them together? I can't even imagine that.
The one of the others quotes Swedish style? No. Yugoslavian style? Of course not. It has to be Zlatan style.
I love it. You said you had another one?
I can't help but laugh at how perfect I am.
Flawless.
That is the number one 35 best quotes shortly after he was released by Manchester United during his stint there.
Brilliant. Well, I don't have much on the way on my side because we just moved, but I do have some good news in the sense that the move has gone well. There's a nice local joint to get a pint at. Nothing crazy, but some good food. You think of like Ale Houston in Florida, but privately owned, right?
Okay.
It's more mom and pop, good foods and stuff. And
yep.
And they pour the drink strong, man. It's like a 5-minute walk for me there, but it's like 45 minutes back. The difference is staggering. Which
is what Ron's going to be doing, or probably did tonight when he left Oktoberfest.
That dad joke was inspired for Ron. Ron is a rare public tipsy person. I'm so curious to know if it happened.
He is. You are absolutely correct. He very well is. Speaking of which, did you get a chance to listen to the pod that Ron and I did?
To be honest, no, I have not yet.
Okay, that's fine. I know you've been trying to move and move a family, but I had a dad joke.
Oh no. Well, then I will have to put that into the car for the commute to work then tomorrow.
I mean, if you want, I can just tell you here and save you the half an hour of us.
Did we get two dad jokes in a row?
Oh,
I
yeah.
love it.
You'll understand. And I don't mind saying this on back-to-back pods because it involves one of my favorite movie characters of all time.
Perfect.
What do you call James Bond taking a bath?
I'm going to be annoyed. I couldn't think of this. What?
Bubble 07.
That's
good night, ladies and gentlemen.
Perfect. And on that note, love the beer, cherish the game, the Brewtiful Game.
Prost.
See you soon, Ron. Travel safe.